If I believe there's a reason for this pain I'm going through, if I believe that leaving me was all that you could do, if I believe that I can feel you by my side, I'll make it through the night. If I believe that time will teach me how to find my way, if I believe that broken hearts grow stronger every day, if I believe that now you're dancing across the sky, I just might get by. If I believe that memories won't always hurt this much, if I believe that I will see your face again, I can wait till then.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanne Barker-Ravicchio, and welcome to the Somerville Overcoming Addiction Show. Tonight's guest is Steve Jesi, and this is my first night meeting him, and I'm very happy to do so.
Nice to meet you as well.
All right. We both have a lot of connections within the network of substance abuse disorder, and I actually met your ex-wife a long, long time ago, and I can't even remember what meeting we had met at, but we're all there for the same reason. We're all there because we lost children.
Right.
And like you had mentioned to me, there's not too many males there.
That's true.
Not too many fathers that are there.
That's true.
So I really would like you to discuss what brought you to where you are now. So let's start from the very beginning before we get to where you're going. Well, that's fine. We have an hour.
Long story. Well, I grew up in Malden, and lifelong resident down there. I live in Middleton now, and my divorce with my ex-wife, Stephanie, lived in Weston, and she went to a private high school up in New Hampshire, a boarding school, and very close. We have very, very close family, both sides of the family. Both my ex-wife's family is very, very big, and same on my side. So she had a lot big, loving families. And she went to New Hampshire, and all was well. She's doing okay, and little things. I'm sure she was doing her smoking marijuana and stuff like that, like a lot of kids do at that age. But and then she went to college, and she did a couple of years down at Salve Regina, and then she failed miserably, and we knew something was not right there. We thought she was just getting into a lot of messy stuff. So She was on her own. Worked for Verizon for a number of years. She had a really good job at Verizon. Was making a decent salary, and she had a condo. And we noticed things were starting to get kind of fuzzy with her. Is like she couldn't come to family events, which she really really loved, and there were like poor excuses. I had to work late. I was tired. All those type of things. And just one thing led to another, and then finally it got to a point where we ended up finding out, knock us over, with a feather, but we found out that she had an addiction. And at that point, this was back in probably 2014, it wasn't as prevalent as today, with people coming out and talking about. So we had no idea, the two sets of parents that she had, we had no idea what to do, where to go, all that, and that's where it basically started. So we had to do a lot of research on our own, and it was difficult.
Like you said, you didn't know what an opioid was.
Yeah, when they said it was an opioid, it goes, what's like an opioid? I didn't know what it exactly was, and then finally said it's heroin. I said, are you kidding me? I was taking not my daughter. There's no way. So, like I said, when she was living by herself, she then, prior to that, she, in her condo, she was taking the trash out. And she was at night, she fell in a pothole, she twisted her ankle and broke her ankle. She had to have surgery, so she had pins put in her ankle. And that's when she got hooked on oxys, and then from oxys it went to, it's a story that you could, everybody knows that same story, just change the name.
Exactly.
I'm sure you've had your struggles with it, and I work with a lot of people now. People know my situation, and they'll ask me, can you talk to so and so about their kid that's in that has a problem, and what you went through, and or somebody that's lost a child. I've talked to a lot of those because they're having a tough time struggling with it. So that's very very hard. So.
Absolutely. It is a tough situation. Like
Yeah.
I told you, my story with Frankie.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Right.
Very good job. Frankie used to work for the post office.
Yep. Well, they have the cat. They have the money. They have the
They have
means
that,
to
yeah.
do whatever. To buy the oxys on the street, and at $80 a pill, they need 3 or 4 a day. It's
Right.
it gets expensive. So,
Absolutely.
and,
Can you imagine that? $320 a day.
Steph
So
burned
what's a
through her
bag
money.
of dope?
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper.
$15?
A lot cheaper. So there's so many stories and so many things I could talk about tonight. But I remember when it first.
We
Stephanie-
don't want to believe that.
Right, you don't want to believe it, but Steph passed away on December 13th. It was my dad's 10th anniversary, right on the same day. And that was in December. In January, the company that I work for, we have a big meeting down in Atlanta, and there's probably 1,500 people there. And I had to do a presentation in front of that group, and I wasn't going to go. I felt like I just can't do it. I just can't do it. And my darling wife, Barbara, she said,
Who is here?
yeah,
Say
she's
hi,
on
Barbara.
off the side. So she said, no, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go. So when I went there, I kind of got up in front of the group, and I went off script. And everybody knew about Stephanie passing away. And they were all giving me condolences and stuff like that. So I just got off script, and I just talked to everybody from my heart. And I just told them all, I said, this is a problem. The reason why I'm talking about it, I said, because we got to get it out in the open. I said, we can't keep it in. It's a stigma. People don't want to talk about it. I said, but I'm telling all of you out here today, appreciate all your thoughts and prayers and all that. I says, but just you got to keep talking about it. For everybody out there that has an addiction or knows somebody, get them talking about it. Well, after that, people came up to me, and I was blown away. People were saying, my brother's an addict. Can you give him a call? I lost my brother, I lost my cousin, and it just like snowballed, and everybody started talking to me. And before you know it, I had this network of people that were calling me and talking to me. As a matter of fact, at that meeting, somebody came up to me, and they put the phone to my ear, and they said, you got to listen to this. And it was actually, he had the recording of his son calling him up and saying that he can't take it anymore, and he's going to end his life. It was a suicide note. And I says, I hope he didn't do it. He says, no, he didn't. You know, they actually got him help, and he's in recovery right now. But it's
Thank
just
God.
one thing after another like that. Stories like you just can't believe. So I have a network of people that I work with. And, you know, and I've been going to, you know, I was going to Learn to Cope while Steffi was alive. And then from there, you know, people in learning to cope with people that are using. And they really didn't want to hear my story because I was on the other side of the fence where, you know, I lost a child and they're hoping that they don't lose their child. So I had to be very careful what I said to them. But what I do tell them is that just like a pilot on an airline will tell you before you take off, put your mask on first, then help others. I tell them the same thing. You got to help yourself first before you can try to help an addict, because you can't help the addict. They got to help themselves. There's nothing you can do. And that, like I said, that's what pulled on my heartstrings, and I'm sure, and the same as Steph's mother, was, you know, we always wanted to do for her. We sent her to Florida. You know, it cost us $30,000 to send her down there for, you know, her period down there. And she did well, but she ended up relapsing down there. We did everything we could for her, you know, and that's why I feel like I don't have any not sorrow for that. What I'm saying is I don't have any guilt, because I did everything I possibly could for her, you know, as a father, you know. So it's a difficult thing to go through.
It is.
As, you know, people always
Both
say.
parents are lost children.
Yeah, and so we have this little group. So going to all these meetings, what I was getting at, going through all these meetings, I meant, you know, the meetings I go to is mostly women. It's all the moms. And once in a while there's a dad. And so I said, you know, maybe the guys don't want to get out and talk, or they just feel like, you know, they don't want to cry in public or whatever it is, or talk to their story. So I said, you know, maybe I should start a men's group. So that's what I did. I started a men's group. We haven't had a meeting yet, but we're going to have one next week, Tuesday. It's actually June 25th. It'll be June 25th at the Flint Public Library in Middleton. So it's on 1 South Main Street. It's right at the intersection of 114 and 62. So it's easy to get to. The library is nice enough to let us have the nice room. So we'll have, I think I probably have about 5 or 6, probably up to 9 guys coming.
That's good.
Which is pretty good.
So if there are any other fathers out there that would
please
like
join
to
us.
go to a new group being put together by Steve Jesi, it'll be in Middleton at their public library, and like you said, between on the corner of 62 and 114. I love Middleton. I go up there every Sunday.
Yeah, Richardson's ice cream.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, I'm not a clinical psychologist. I am not a professional at this, but I think it just gives people a platform to come in and talk to guys that have gone through the same thing. You know, there's the steps of grieving you go through, and everybody needs to go through those steps at different paces.
And they go through everything, anger.
Yeah, they go through that, and you go through it different, and you do things differently. For example, Steph's mom, you know, she likes to go, not that she likes to go, but she goes to, you know, the vigils and things like that with, you know, with a lot of the moms. My therapy is I like to help people and go, you know, and talk about it, and I guess that's how I do my thing, is get, you know, that's how I grieve by that. So, so, you know, you just take it one step at a time, and
Absolutely.
You know, I got a lot of friends that are you know, in recovery themselves, AA and stuff like that. So, you know, they kind of give me a lot of guiding knowledge to help me with it. So it all works. It all works.
Definitely.
So
I actually started, well, in 2013 is when we had our first public meeting at our, because at the time, Governor Patrick Deval had said that we had an epidemic. And I had lost Frankie in 2009, November 15th, 2009. He had a very, very bad day. My son came down. At the time, I was working like part-time at the police station, so there was a really bad storm, and a lot of people were calling the business line, and I was trying to help them, whether it was down trees or electric. So he came and he was very upset about something that happened that day. And I said, well, when I come home, we'll talk about it, but right now I can't. So when I came home, he was sleeping. Obviously, he had had some drink, so he went to sleep. And I ended up going out for a few hours, and when I came home, I didn't check on him because he asked me not to, because I always checked on him, and he said, you know, Mom, you can't do this. You have to stop checking on me. So I didn't do it this night. And then the next morning, I was making bacon and eggs, and I figured I would go in and wake him. Let's talk about what happened the day before.
Right.
And unfortunately, my son was gone at that point.
Yeah.
You know, that was before I knew anything about Narcan, knew anything about all the networks that were out there, because you're talking 2009.
Right.
Although, you know, OxyContins were around for over 7 years.
Sure.
You know, how did we know?
And
You
it,
don't.
right, and it affects everybody from the low income to very, very wealthy people.
Right. It does
Any-
not discriminate.
It does not discriminate. It could kill us. It doesn't kill.
Billionaires have lost their children to addiction. If they could, they would do whatever they can with their money to
That's
bring
right.
them back, but
That's
it's
right.
not going to happen.
But the thing is, you could throw all the money you want. And I have a very, very close friend. His daughter's in, and she just relapsed recently. And he knows there's nothing we could do for her. She's got to do it herself. And he knows that. And it's killing him. I know it's killing him. But that's what you have to do. And that's what you got to tell, you know, try to tell the parents out there, is that, you know, I know you love your kids. You want to do everything you can for them. But at some point, you have to stop. Now, in Stephanie's case, you know, and I was always told you never, ever, ever want to bring an addict back into your house while they're using. Because, you know, the other thing my good friend told me is that, you know, you got 2 other boys you got to take care of. You know, you got to help Stephanie. You got to love her all the time. But you got to be concerned about those other 2 boys. And
Absolutely.
I did. But, you know, when Steph was, when she came back from Florida after she used, she immediately left her mom at Logan Airport and went off with a girlfriend. After her mother flew all the way down there to get her, bring her home, she took off. And then that night, she overdosed.
Oh my goodness.
She overdosed that night, and we got a call, Melrose Wakefield Hospital. Steph, we both flew down there, and there's Stephanie. She's on the gurney. She's crying, I don't want to do this, you know, and I'm sure, you know, everybody out there has heard this before, you know, with that. I don't want to do this anymore. I want help. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And probably within an hour, that turned to, you know, get me out of this effing place. I want to get out of here. Leave me alone. I don't want to be bothered. And she just, you know, get nasty. The thing I tell everybody is that you have a window to help an addict is very, very small. When they need that help, you got to get them that help. Otherwise, they churn that quick. In Stephanie's case, at the Melrose Wakefield Hospital, we didn't have that opportunity because they didn't have a bed for her to put her in. So they came up to us and says, she's all set. I says, all set for what? Now, of course, we're new at this. All set for what? And he says, she can go with you. I says, doesn't she need to go someplace? He says, well, we don't have any beds. We don't have any place to put her. I says, well, what am I supposed to do with her? I don't know how to handle this. And, you know, Steph's mom had some friends that gave us a call, and that they said, make the Melrose Wakefield Hospital give you something in writing, said that they discharging her because they don't have a bed in place for her, right, or a place to put her. And call up Chief Lenny up in Gloucester. So that's how I got involved with the PARI program. And the PARI program has about close to 400 police departments now across the United States. And what that program does, if you don't know, it allows people that are using drugs to walk into a police station and turn themselves in, and they'll get them help. They have scholarships. They have means to get them to these locations and help them get a bed. Now, we took Steph up there. They started in May. That was probably in August of 2015, and within probably 8 hours, they got her a bed. Now, I couldn't even tell you, Steph knew more about detox and where the beds were and what you had to be clean and dirty and pee this and pee that. And, you know, of course, we learned all that, but they got her a bed, and I was forever grateful for them. And so, you know, I've had fundraisers now every year. We have a fundraiser in Steph's memory to raise money for scholarships. So we give out $3,000 scholarships to people in long-term recovery to help them with whatever they need. So we don't actually give them the money, but if they need money for a new vehicle or to go to school or rent or whatever, we help them with that.
Right.
So we've been doing that now. This is our 4th year. So I recently was just asked to sit on the board of PARI, so I accepted that. So I'll be sitting on the board of PARI and helping any way I can to them. I retire at the end of the year, which is good. So I'll have a lot more time to help out with all these different projects. Because people say, you know, what are you going to do when you retire? You know, people get bored. It says, I'm not going to be bored. I'm going to have a lot of people to help, a lot of things to do. So,
Do I know that?
yeah, you certainly do. You do quite a bit yourself. So, but and like I said, that's what gives me that that good feeling inside. I mean, I really enjoy. I don't wish to be doing this, but I'm putting this place, you know, for whatever it is. But you know, we have so many stories about Steph and how this all came about, and it just goes on and on and on.
Let me explain something to you. Back in 2000, was it maybe 14, when Governor Baker wasn't elected yet, and oh my God, who was the one that was? Imagine that. I'm having a
Duval?
no woman. She was the Attorney General.
Oh, geez, I can't. Mara Haley? Not Mara.
No. I'm trying to think of what her name was. But anyway, she came down to Somerville, and we sat at a table. It was a round table discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 13 mothers there, women. Of course, I'm sorry, but they were just all women.
Yeah, so there you
And
go.
we were sitting there talking about all the situations with our children. And like you said, all the stories were the same.
Yeah, just
You
change the
know.
names.
Yeah, and just change the names, you
Change
know.
the
and-
names.
And the thing is that they wouldn't take them unless they were high at one point.
Right.
So then what happens? You end up buying drugs for them so that they can get into these facilities.
Yep.
And you know, and a lot of times in these detoxes, they end up going in and out at least 9 to 10 times.
They know the
before they-
routine so well. They know exactly what they have to do. They know where the beds are, when they have to call. And unfortunately, during the colder months, it's very difficult to get a bed, you know. But, you know, Steph she went to detox up in Worcester and AdCare. And they gave us a call, same thing. They says, we're going to release her. And I says, you can't. And I went against all advice, and myself, Barbara, and Steph's granddad in Charlotte, we went up there, and we kind of intercepted her before they left her off and tried to get her. I took her home to my house, and I traveled quite a bit, and it just happened those 2 weeks I wasn't traveling, so she could be with me. You know, my wife, Barbara, was working. My 2 boys were in college, so it was just me and Steph for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So we had a good time, you know, bonding. And again, she was still, you know, just came out of recovery, out of rehab, and she was detox rather, and she was pretty, you know, out of it. And every day, you know, I'd go, and she was sleeping in her brother's bed, and I'd say, you want me to make you breakfast? Oh, get out of here, you know, that type of thing. And then the next day, he says, you want me to make you breakfast? And she'd say, what are you making? I says, you want me to make an omelet? All right. And the next day it would be, and slowly she came out of it, you know, kind of. My mother, God rest her soul, she'd nurse her with food. So, you know, that's what I did. And then finally I got a call that they had a bed for her up at the Spectrum, up in
Worcester, isn't it?
up in the Worcester area in Westboro, I think it is. So I those 2 weeks I drove her up there, and I told Stephanie, I held her hand all the way up, and I told her, I said, don't let this be a gift from God, these 2 weeks we had together. Do the right thing. I said, you know, you have a path you're going down. You can take a right and die, or you can take a left and be well. I says, make your choice. Dropped her off. She was very happy there. She was there for about maybe a week or 2. And then she called me up, and she says, hey, Dad. She says, I got this sober house I want to go to in Boston. And I looked the place up. It had bad reputation, and I talked to a bunch of people. They said, do not send her there. And she got really nasty with me because she wanted me. She says, I thought you were going to support me, if I wanted to get better. I says, I will, if you do the right things. But I'm not going to support you something that I don't believe in. So, click, she hung up the phone. That was on a Tuesday. Thursday, she overdosed up in Worcester. And she was at the UMass Medical Center. And the reason why we know this, because when she passed away, we got her backpack, and in her backpack was her discharge paper. They discharged her Thursday night, 11:34 at night. That's the problem. That's one of the problems. There's many, many problems, but that's one of the problems. Had that been me, and bunch of years ago, I had a chest pain, not knowing what it was. I went to the hospital, took me in, stopped everything, gave me all kinds of treatment, kept me overnight, hooked me up with a cardiologist the next day. They followed up, right? But what do they do to the addicts? They just released her in Worcester,
Doesn't know anything or anyone.
just come off, and they're still, still high, and they released her. That was a Thursday night. Sunday night, they found her dead in a hotel. 2 nights after that, and she passed away in a hotel by herself. Those are the things that bother me. When I don't dwell on that stuff, but it's very, very emotional when you think about her dying by herself.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And so many of the kids, and I call them all kids, so many of them do. And the thing that I struggle with is that Stephanie had a big family. She had 2 sets of parents that loved her, that supported her, and we're doing well, financially and stuff like that. We had the means to send her different places, but how about the kids that are on the street that have nothing? Their parents just said, screw them, they're done, get out of my life, and they just, they're right probably outside this window here, but they have nobody to fall back on. Those are the kids that I care about, that we need to do something about. So how do you help them?
You're absolutely right. So, and I think it was like 2014, there was a group called Hand Delivered Hope. And we used to meet in Government Center at the Irish restaurant there. I have mental blocks tonight. But anyway, we would meet there at like 9 o'clock, and we would have hope bags. Mm-hmm. And in those bags, we would have clothing, socks,
right?
Antiperspirant, whatever they needed, food, water, and we would go out with the hope bags. And that was one winter that it must have snowed 10 feet in the whole season. It was really unbelievable. And my being as old as I am would be out there with young men in their 30s, and they would help me over those mounds of snow, and we would go out and feed them. And it was totally amazing. Some people would stay out in the cold. They had frostbitten faces, and they wouldn't go in because they wanted to be with their girlfriend, but they wouldn't let the 2 of them be together, so they'd rather be out there freezing together. You
remember, when they're in their addiction, they're not thinking straight, they're not thinking right, and it's just it gets.
We used to go from Government Center and walk down to the Boston Medical Center, which is known in that area as Methadone Mile.
Right.
So there was a lot of walking involved, and we didn't get in till like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning after we were doing it. It was only one Sunday a month. They still do it. Yeah. But unfortunately, I did try to do it more or less in the Somerville area.
Yeah.
We do have the blessing boxes, which
there's a lot of people out there that need help. And again, what Steph did, she kind of didn't want to hurt her family, so she would kind of push herself away.
Right.
I knew it killed her not to come to, Auntie Michelle's New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve party, get together with the family, because she missed a few of those, and I knew why, because she wasn't in the right frame of mind, or she just wasn't feeling, she was dope sick and she couldn't go, and that killed her. That really hurt her. But she didn't want to show her cards to her family. You know, and that's
They have their own stigma.
that's their stigma. That's their stigma. And she knows if, you know, if I had found out that she was using heroin, it would kill me. Matter of fact, my mother, you know, she passed away the March before Stephanie. We never told her because we knew it would really hurt her terribly. So we didn't let her know at all. And matter of fact, when she passed away, I had to go down. Stephanie was down in Florida. I had to fly down, sign her out of that, and keep her in my custody. She couldn't leave my sight. Flew her back up to my mother's funeral wake, and the very next day, we flew her back down there to keep her in the program down there. So, you know, it's one thing after another. So it's, you know, like I said, there's so many stories and so many things that we could talk for 2 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
About
you know, I understand that. I mean, and that's why where I'm at, a lot of people, you know, they say, well, you know, you're a very strong woman. Well, there's been a long time coming because it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, you still struggle with different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There could be a song that comes on, or
And I always tell people, like when they say, you know, matter of fact, just this weekend, I have a friend at work. He lost his son, and this was his first, you know, Father's Day without him. So I sent him a note, and I just told him, I says, you know, it's gonna be tough. I'm sure you had a tough one. I says, but I hope you were able to pull something out of the day that, you know, you remember your son. And the thing is, like, you know, Stephanie had this big thing about the moon. She had, like, we always used to say, I love you to the moon and back. So when my son graduated from Roger Williams 2 or 3 weeks ago, the day of his graduation, it was the big full moon.
yes,
And I said, there's Steph. She's with us. It's the little signs that says, you know, she's looking over, she's with us. Or something like that happens. It's always, you know, Steph looking. And I told him that. I says, if something reminds you of your son, that's him tapping you on the shoulder and say, Dad, I'm watching over you. I'm with you. So
right.
I have a very, very, you know, Catholic and strong faith. And so I know Steph's in a better place. She's, you know, especially, you know, I guess it's prejudiced, whatever to say that, you know, the guys are one thing out in the street, you know, doing what they're doing. But when the girls are out in the street, you know, you never know what's going on, what they're doing to get the money, what they're doing to get the drugs and stuff like that. It's just heartbreaking. So I always say she's away from all that now. She's at peace. Nobody can touch her. Nobody can bother. She's with my mother. So that's how I get around it.
Now, did she go through Verizon for help?
I'm not sure. I don't think so because, you know, it was funny because we'd laugh at it now, but like right around February timeframe, you know, she would take her little sabbatical. She would go off, and I think, but we never knew, but she was going into detox. And we said, what's happening? She said, I'm going to get some help or something like that, mental health or whatever it was, but we never knew it was detox. We just thought it was stress or whatever it was. But
She was trying to take care of it herself for a while.
oh, she put herself into detox all the time.
Wow.
All the time.
Do you know what my son asked me? If I would have him, if I would section him.
Mm.
And I did go down to the courthouse and talk to, you know, about having him sectioned. And they did do it, but the day of it, it's like he got very nervous and didn't want to go. And I'm holding on to him in the car. He was trying to get out of my car, and it's like I almost broke my fingers, but I brought him there because he was thinking about detoxing.
Yeah.
And how horrible it was to detox.
Well, that's it. She always told me some of the things she would say, like, and I don't know whether it's true or not, but it's not the high that they're looking for. It's just that they don't want to be sick. They don't want to get that sickness.
Right.
They can feel it coming, so they need to get, you know, high. And that's why they would do that. So it's not like somebody smoking pot to get a buzz on to, you know, chill out or whatever. They were doing it just because they knew they were going to start getting dope sick, and they just didn't want that, and that's the only way they could stop it from happening. Exactly. And she says, Dad, it's like 10 times, it's being seasick 10 times worse. You know, that's the feeling. You know, just want to die, just want to kill yourself.
Yeah, basically, that is true.
But
That after a while, it's not the high that they're looking for. They just don't want to get sick.
Yeah, when she was those 2 weeks, she was with me, and we kept an eye on her. We were like afraid she was going to do something or anything like that. She said, "Dad, I can get heroin delivered to this house quicker than you can get a pizza." I says, couldn't believe it. She says, "Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you'd be
amazing."
surprised.
Yeah,
Because
quicker
there
than
are
you get
a
a
lot of
pizza.
those people that are actually dealing already have their own sickness too.
Sure.
So they're trying to supply themselves. Not that it's right.
Right, and they wait outside, ad care. They wait outside those places. They know those people being discharged, and they prey upon them. It's just a big sick network.
Absolutely.
That
But I hear EdCare has a good program.
yeah, they do. They do. She made the she was on the she had a card that she probably got points for every time she's been in there, like frequent flying miles, going in that place. It was crazy.
Really? Because I know that now there's a lot of places that will give you transportation. Before, a lot of us would be a part of a network, and we would shout out to each other on Facebook, is anybody around to bring
Right.
someone up to Danvers or wherever they don't have a ride. So now there's more and more places that are supplying transportation, which is good.
Yeah, PARI has what they call angels. So the PARI program has angels that are certified, trained to go out and bring the people in a nice way and help them.
Right.
Back
I
to
met a lot of
recovery.
those angels.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there, and God bless them. But that's a program, and PARI also got some grant money where they went through AmeriCorps, and they got a bunch of people to go through recovery coach program, and I did it. I went through the 30-hour program to become
What'd you think of it?
recovery program. It was eye-opening. It was really good training. And it was good from my perspective, because I was the only parent in there. There was probably 25 people in there. Most of them were in recovery, so they seen it from the recovery side, and they knew what to do. But nobody's ever seen it from a parent side.
Which one did you go to?
I went in Woburn
Okay.
through it was AmeriCorps. I can't think of the name of the company, but they do the training all the time. So the next thing I want to do is go into I can't think of the name of the next section to do that, but I think it's like a three-day program.
Right. Well, they're starting to introduce that. I'm also, in February of 2015, I became a recovery coach.
Right. Now to get certified by Massachusetts,
But
you have
I'm
to do
not
this
certified by the state for the
Right.
simple fact that a lot of these classes were never when I was on vacation,
Right, that's
always
my-
when I'm working.
That's my problem.
Yeah, and so I haven't really been certified yet.
Yeah.
But I did the 30-hour
Yeah.
program back in February in Boston. And I did do a few other classes. I still have maybe 4 more to go, and then I'll be, but then you also have to have 500 hours.
Right. Which I can't do now because I'm working.
Right.
But eventually, I'll do it. But yeah.
But we also had like a March of last year to get it done, and then they extended the program like 5 or 6 months. But you know what? Eventually I'll do it, and then I'll
Yeah.
just take the test. So I'm not going to be grandfathered into the program.
Right.
But it's a good thing. It's an eye-opener. I enjoyed going there, and I was also a parent.
Yeah, so it was good, eye-opening. What PARI does with those people, they'll place 2 or 3 in police departments around the area, so that way they can go out and help the police department when.
And that's how they get their hours, too, is
Correct.
because, even Malden had offered, Malden Overcoming Addiction offered, when they had their training for a recovery coach, that the people would, because they're involved in the courts there, that they would get their hours that way. And,
There's
which is
more
good.
and more programs like this. So, back when, in 2009 with you and then 15 with us, there was none of this.
No, absolutely
There
not.
was none of it. And there's no book that tells you what to do. And you can't call people up. Some people don't, they don't want to talk to other people about it, And again, that's one of the reasons why I started the group for the dads.
Right.
So hopefully, people will come out and join us, and I hope to see.
So when you're ready to have like guest speakers, there's a lot of people that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
get, including, I don't know if you know Marianne Frangoulis from Moore.
No.
Okay, Moore is Mass Organization for Addiction Recovery. They do have what we call a Bible, and inside their booklet, they have a 43-page booklet, and they have all the different detoxes and treatment centers and all of that in there
Right.
for different areas.
That's
And
good.
so I'm sorry I didn't bring one with me tonight, because then I would have given it to you.
Yeah, well, I'll get one.
But you, Joanne,
Yep.
Joanne Peterson,
Yep.
she has a great program called Learn to Cope, and I think just recently she's doing a seminar for people. I had gone to the last two, but unfortunately, for some reason, I'm not going to be able to attend it this year.
Yeah,
But she
we've
goes
gone-
out of her way.
Yeah, we've gone to the Learn to Cope up in Gloucester, because again, with the PARI founded up in Gloucester, that's kind of our home base to
Yeah.
do
I
everything
know
up
exactly
there.
where it is, and it is
Yeah.
on the right-hand side, opposite the police department.
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
right by the Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, I
So-
used to go, actually, we went up there one year, and we had a vigil out in front of the Gloucester Police Department.
Well, they have the vigil in August, right on the water. It's absolutely
Right.
beautiful. So we go do
Yeah.
that. We
Do you
the
know
boat-
Gary Landris?
No.
Okay, so, and, well, he lives up there, and him and Kathy Day.
Yeah, I know Kathy very well. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so
Kathy
they
runs
would
that.
have it.
Yeah,
up
Kathy
there.
runs that. But
We all have vigils.
yeah, I know
I had
there's
my
quite a
seventh
few.
here.
There's quite a few all over the place.
Yeah.
But I got to give a shout out to Allie Hunter. She's the executive director for PARI. She does a phenomenal job advocating for funds to help with the PARI program, and I think we're up to like close to 400 police departments across the United States. Again, PARI program is so people can go in, turn their drugs in, and police department are trained to help them instead of arresting them.
Give them
'Cause,
treatment.
Yep. Co-founder John Rosenthal and former chief of Gloucester Police, Lenny, up there. They all said, they can't arrest their way out of this problem. They have to be able to help them, because it's going to be a revolving door that's going to keep coming and coming and going. And
Yeah, I know it was funny, but at the time it was Campanello.
yeah, Chief. yeah,
And
Lenny.
Chief Campanello, and he said that he would call all these places and find a bed for whoever needed it. And they said, well, insurance companies, they said, look, addiction is 24 hours in office, 24 hours. You can't have a 9-to-5 job. We need to get these people into a bed.
Right.
So he would get these people up in the middle of the night and get their okay
Yeah.
to put them into
And
treatment.
And people, I know they always say they don't want to say no to the police, right? So they'll say, can we have a scholarship? Can we have a bed for 30 days? And they'll say, yeah, we'll donate it for 30 days. So
Right.
they have a list of beds that they can put people in. So the program's really caught on. And they use different police departments don't follow the actual PARI program out of, the Gloucester.
Right.
Gloucester
We have the
it's-
core program.
Yeah, it's some form of it, but at least it gives the police, and some fire departments even do it, where, people that are can go into a fire department, do the same thing.
Right.
But
We
they're-
have that in Manchester, New
Yeah.
Hampshire.
Right,
They,
that's right, yeah. And they like I said, when we brought Steph up there in August of 15, she was, she just came out of Melrose Wakefield, so she just went through her overdose. And when we brought her up there, she was nodding a little bit, and they immediately, had the fire department came over to an ambulance. Paramedics checked her all out, and they says, "Are you still, high?" And she says, "No, I'm not." And they made sure she was fine before they sent her off. So they do a good job.
So we know that long-term recovery, you have to have help for a long time,
Life.
at least 18 months you need to be in programs, not only programs, outpatient.
Yeah, you gotta follow almost like the Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12-step program, where you gotta every day you gotta be at a meeting, and thank God, Steph's granddad is in recovery for 50 some odd years, so he goes to meetings faithfully every night. And when she was with us for those 2 weeks, he would pick her up and take her to different meetings. And Steph actually got a kick out of it. She says, Papa's, we're going to High Park. She says, I don't even know what High Park is. He would drive, from Reading, Malden, wherever he would have to go, he would take her to those meetings. And he really pushed her along.
That's
so
how you got a few more months or a year or whatever it was.
You just want to get them, like they say, one day at a time. You got to just keep taking those steps till you get to a point where it's starting to catch on, and then you get into your recovery, and then because their clarity to their, it takes a while for them to be able to think clear and have some clarity in their mind, their thoughts and stuff like that. So it takes a while. Somebody says, God bless them that they've been recovered for, a week, but they're still,
Still fresh in
They're
their
still
mind.
fresh. It takes a long time, and they'll, unfortunately, like everybody else, they'll have it for the rest of their lives. They got to get that in their heads.
It's just like an alcoholic, right?
It's like me. I just recently lost close to 60 pounds, but
Good for you.
I like to eat. So I'm addicted to food like a lot of people, and
Same here.
I know I can't eat like I used to. I know I can't do that. So
You have to change your ways.
you have to change your ways, just like they have to do. But obviously, it's a stronger addiction.
Well, there's 80% of the country is, affected by addiction.
Yeah.
But
Some
there are
sort.
23 million that are in recovery. So,
Right. And that's one of the stigmas, because a lot of people say, once they've used heroin, they're done, they're all done, they're washed up, they're useless, and blah blah. It goes down. But there are so many stories out there that and that's one of the nice things I love about the scholarships that we give out, because and even at the fundraiser, we bring them to the fundraiser to show people that these people are in recovery. They're good kids, they're good people, they got good jobs, and they make
a lot of them are in the recovery field now.
That's true.
They run treatment centers. They have their own sober houses.
They got families, they got kids. They're they're back on the mainstream, and God willing, they stay on
Whatever
that
we can do to stay sober is what we're going to do. And you know what? And there's a lot of people that they have a boxing program to be able to, as long as you keep yourself busy.
Right.
Like there's people that do yoga, there's meditation, painting, whatever it takes in order for you to stay clean.
Right.
Is what you need to do.
It's like I say, it's like my personal self. If I'm around the house working, or around the yard, or I'm on the phone in the office and stuff like that, not thinking about food. But as soon as I'm idle time, you start thinking about what can I eat, what can I pick on. It's just same thing. So
Like yourself, when I first lost Frankie in 2009, it was a real struggle for over a year to try to. Actually, longer than that, but I lost him in my home, so I went and lived on the beach for a year because I was by myself. It was just him and I, and I couldn't go back into that home, or I didn't feel comfortable there. So I lived down at Revere Beach. I walked that beach every day. But do you know, from the moment I moved in there for that full year and I came back home, I did not walk the beach once. I was very devastated about the loss of the child that I always wanted. He was premature, 7 weeks early. We went through a lot. I mean, the poor kid struggled to come into this world and then struggled on the way out.
yeah.
And it's so devastating to me, and it still is, no
It
matter
will be
what.
forever.
I could be I was telling this the other day, is that I was in Market Basket doing some shopping, and for some reason, I thought of Frankie, and the tears came to my eyes, and it's like it's been 10 years, but you still have some weak times,
It'll never. It shouldn't, and it shouldn't. That's not. You'll always have that feeling.
Oh,
and
definitely.
That's what I tell people.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You move on, but it's not the same.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's just you have to struggle with the reality that you've lost one of your children.
Right. And I know Steph wouldn't want me to be, put back in a home, just
She'd be proud of you, what you are doing.
She'd probably be like, Dad, I can't imagine what she'd be saying right now, but she'd be crazy. She could be crazy, but
I think she'd be proud of you and Cheryl.
yeah, Cheryl does a lot of work. She goes out and, with all the moms again.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you got to get your dads out there. So hopefully your dads come to.
Yeah, the whole thing is that I've been with a lot of those moms.
Yeah.
And they help each other.
Yeah.
There's a lot of programs on the Facebook. Maybe at this point you can start your grief group online with Facebook as well.
Yeah, I get it.
Because
start that up.
what we do with team sharing in Massachusetts as well as New Hampshire, there's always someone up. You know how sometimes you have a weak moment at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep or whatever time it was. There's always someone there.
Yeah.
To help you through your difficult time.
That's a good idea.
And nobody even knows that it exists unless, because they're private groups.
Right. The problem with the dads is like they probably, I'm sure they don't talk to people. They keep it all pent up inside themselves.
Absolutely. My ex too.
Yeah.
Every once in a while he would call me and he'd be, it's like the anniversary of, we don't talk anymore and that's
right.
okay. I like that. We've moved on from each other. But the thing is that, Frankie was a big part of both of our lives, and it was hard for him to deal with it. And I guess I was his, I was the person that he would go to talk about it, And, for the longest time he kept his coat and had it cleaned and put it on the wall and, that's his way of dealing with the loss.
That's like and that's one of the messages we'll give at the meetings is that I'm not there to tell them the right or the wrong way, because there isn't a right or wrong way to grieve.
No.
You do it your own way.
And there's not a certain amount of time that you.
That's right.
A lot of people say, well, you should be getting over it by now. It's like, you know what? You lose a child and you tell me when you should get over it.
Right. That's right.
You can't.
Right.
All you can do is be there for that person and support them as long as they need to be supported.
That's all. And they come to the meeting, if they want to speak, fine, they can. If they want to listen to my story, if they want to listen to somebody else's story, and maybe they'll bond with somebody else, and they want to go for coffee after and talk privately to. That's what the whole program's about. Is just
it's helping each other.
Just help each other, and if that works, perfect. If it doesn't, hopefully it will. But just to get them out. Talk to somebody else other than their wives or,
You've done a lot in 4 years. You realize that,
I
though?
hope. I hope we could do a lot more.
Part of Pari.
Hope we could do a lot more.
I'm sure you will.
Like I said, Pari's been very good to us. They've been very good to a lot of people. I don't know what the count is of people that they put through that program, but it's crazy. I mean, I had a friend in PA. His son is an addict, and he just said I told him all about the Pari program. And I got a call. He said, his son was wanted help. I said, you only got get him help. We got to get him help. So he says, is there a Pari around here in Pennsylvania? So I looked it up and said the closest one is in Ohio, which was like a 4-hour ride from him. I said, get him in the car. I called Gloucester, Pari. Pari then called that location. They says, get him in a car and get him out here. We'll get him help. They got him help. They put him on a plane, flew him to Utah, got him in a program in Utah, 30-day program.
That's good.
Yeah. And again, he's went, back off the wagon. He's back and forth. But again, people say,
Still alive.
Exactly right. He's still alive. And people say, they've, you spent all this money, or this is the 15th time he's gone to treatment. It could be 16th time he gets it. It'll work. Or it could be the 17th time it works.
So at that point, you say to that person, what would you do for your own child?
That's right.
I mean, would you turn your back? Would you wait go through it the 15th or the 16th time? Of course you would.
You do anything you can to help your kid.
That's your child. You want to keep them alive.
Yeah. The thing you got to be careful about is when you help your child is that you're not enabling them. Mm-hmm. So you'll do anything to help them with their recovery, but you're not going to, support them with money and that type of stuff like that, because that doesn't help.
No.
They got to help themselves. And what we always said with Stephanie is that, and I tell everybody, is make sure you always tell them that you love them.
Well, that's
I
it.
don't like what you're doing. I hate what you're doing, but I love
love
you.
you.
But I love you, you know. So I'm always there for you. So if you want to go shoot up, I can't stop you from doing that. If you want to get in recovery, I'll help you. I'll get you help. I'll do whatever I can to get you in a bed. That's when you go out, you stay up all night trying to find them a bed. But anything else other than that, as long as you're using, nothing to do with you.
Right. So like, the Learn to Cope program, they do have, if you go there and you go to their classes, they will show you how to administer Narcan.
Yeah, we
So
did.
you're able to get that.
I carry Narcan.
Will you have that service for people? Oh no, they're all grieving.
You're grieving.
So that's kind of stupid to
Yeah.
say, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting because I went to a couple of meetings and it was a mixed group. So I got to be careful. You got to be careful what you say, because you get some parents that are there with their child still struggling, and then you get some that lost. So it's like a mixed message.
Right.
So it is kind of difficult,
So now we only have like 2 minutes left of the show.
Wow.
So what you
fast.
need to do is to tell him again that he has not actually, he's going to wait when he has his group meeting to decide what they're going to call the name of their
Right.
new
We
group.
got to get something that's, that's has a nice ring to it, or something that's easily remembered. DAD, Dads Against something.
Right.
But anyways, we'll figure that out. But the meeting is it starts at 6:30 at the Flint Public Library. It's 1 South Main Street, Middleton, Massachusetts. And it'll be about an hour and a half for the meeting.
Mhm.
No agenda. We'll just open conversation and go from there. See where it leads us. So
Yeah, like this.
there you go.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you're doing that. I really do. So if there's any parent, if there is any father that's anywhere in the state, if you
Yeah.
want to come and be a part of Steve's new group, you're more than welcome to come. Is there a number that they could reach you at?
Yeah, they can give me a call. Call me on my cell phone, 617-459-8734.
And repeat it again, in case they don't have that pen.
617-459-8734.
Great. I'm so happy to have you on here. And
Thank
I'm
you.
very happy that you're starting a group for men.
Well, let's see what happens. Keep your fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Because, I've been looking for a group myself, and I did find one called Main Street. I'm going to shut this off. Good night, everybody.
Good
Thank you
night.
for watching.
Thank you.
Until after it was over.
Yeah.
And then the mums had their wings.
Yeah, they were okay.
I called them. I said, hey, Mary, where'd you get your wings? So I bought 4 sets of wings, and I have to put them on the coach here.
They look
They
like
have black, red.
they look like bikies.
Very nice. Yeah, so thank you for coming on.
That's good.
And
Thank
like
you.
I said,
Hope
you'll
that
be
went
able
well.
to see, you'll be able to see,
So I have friends that were live streaming while it was going on. Now, when will this be up for?
tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. They'll be
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah, they'll be able to see it tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I have to, how long does it take for it to be on YouTube? It's already there? All right, so then all I have to do is go under YouTube. Someone will put them in your picture. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
again before I go.
Thank you so much. And if you ever need any speakers, just let me know. But we all know the same people.
Yeah, right.
So we might not need Rita to help
Okay,
you.
nice. Thank you.
I'll have to call you to help me. All right. Now I can go home to bed. I'm tired.
I'm so tired today. I don't know why it's such a beautiful day.
I think it's because of that full moon. It does affect people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful day.
Let me go and